The message that they're just coming through, providing information and saying things to you is evidence to me, and the message. Hey, I'm still around you. I know what's going on. And I still love you and I care about you. And have you felt me in your kitchen? I've been in your bedroom, those type of things. To me, that's the evidence. You choose your mother, your father, you choose the situations. I'm leaning a little bit towards that too because of deja vu. I've had it my whole life. Okay, has this happened before? Or am I supposed to be learning this is a lesson? Something's happened before. What am I supposed to be aware of? So yeah, I'm just kind of on the other side of it, that we've planned what we're going to do here and who we're going to be with. I'm Julie Babbert, and I'm currently a practicing medium. I started about 10 years ago. I had learned of somebody's passing that I hadn't seen for about 37 years. And the person, first love. And bad breakup. And we were very close. He was my best friend. And we were together for quite a while, on and off. Young love, first love. But I had always hoped someday that we would talk and resolve things, because it was bad, physical bad, when the last time I saw the person. In December of 2014, this is kind of when it kicked off and I wasn't aware of it, I had this dream about him, and I hadn't thought about him in years. And the dream involved him at the house that I grew up in. My little brother was there, and it was just like we were visiting, but he was talking about somebody dying. I started to leave because he and my brother started to make fun of me, and I can see the details to this day. I mean, very, very vivid. And I went to walk up these steps, and he hugged me. He said, "I've got to go now." And I said, "No, I haven't seen you. I want you to stay. It's my time to go. I'm leaving." I woke up feeling like somebody was standing in the room, and I was crying, and I could still feel like arms around me. So that's how it started. I had no idea why I was dreaming that or anything. So little things started happening for about 6 months. I just kind of blew them off, when just synchronicities, more or less. And Cardinals. Cardinals started showing up everywhere. So in June, this was December 2014, June of 2015, I was at work, and I was called up to the front desk. And an acquaintance that we both knew was there, and she was also an employee of the system where I worked, and she needed some help with paperwork. So I was helping her, and afterwards, she said, "I've been meaning to talk to you, but I didn't know how to approach you. So-and-so died. And you could have literally picked me up off the floor. I thought I was blacking out. And I had to excuse myself. So later, I did meet with her. I called her, apologized, and met with her. And she explained to me what had happened. After I met with her, I will be honest, I went into deep grief. And I think part of it was regret. So there were things that weren't said, things that weren't resolved. Things ramped up. I started waking up, and I can't remember if it was during that 6 months that I didn't know that they had passed from the dream. And the dream was very close to the date that they died in December. So I can't remember exactly the time. I kept waking up at 3:14 every morning for like 6 months. And I'm like I would sit straight up out of bed, out of a dead sleep. And again, once in a while, I'd feel these people in the room. I didn't know what was going on. So after, and this continued after I learned of his passing. So I learned all this information about him and how, and I think this is what broke my heart and sent me into deep grief, is that he never married. and that people around him, the few people around him, including this lady, the acquaintance, our mutual acquaintance, had been telling him to contact me, before he passed. He knew he was dying, and he wouldn't do it because he knew I was married, out of respect for my husband. So, it was just a very sad story. So I didn't really tell anybody else about it, except my daughter. I was talking to her about these weird things that were happening. She said, "Mom, you got to go see a medium." And I'm like, "A medium?" I didn't even know what a medium was at that point. So it just happened to be that she was going to be in Lilydale, which I don't know if you're familiar with Lilydale. It's a spiritualist community in New York. It's been there since the late 1800s. You have to be a medium to live there. So her and her wife were going to be there, and I said, "I can't go. I'm going to be in Niagara Falls." Again, not knowing where Lilydale was. She said, "Mom, it's right there." And I said, "Oh, okay." So we figured out dates. So I stopped on my way and saw a medium. And at that point, he told me that I had some abilities. First of all, I had to stop the reading because I was in deep grief. One of my fathers came through, and then this other person that I was grieving. And he stopped the reading because I'm very emotional. I couldn't handle it. But he did talk to me about some other things. I didn't think too much of it. So about a month after that, I started picking up on things when I was going places. And like hearing things. Shit, I'm thinking, oh, I'm losing it. And I'll have to tell you, I can't go exact timeline because a lot of it is blurry. I've written things down in journals as I was going through the experience, but a lot of it is just melds together. So the very first experience that I had, knowing that something was definitely going on with me, is that we had family here for Thanksgiving in our home. And we had people from out of town. So it was crazy. Well, I needed some time alone. So I told my husband, I told everybody else, "I'm going to go take a hot bath. Give me a break." It was the day after Thanksgiving. So I went in there, was taking a hot bath. I guess you need a little bit of the story before that, too. I have a friend that I've known since second grade. And, it's one of those friends you only talk to now and then, but we're very close and we just pick up where we left off. Well, the week before I had been speaking to her, she called me to say her dad wasn't doing well, and she was back down in Florida. So we said, "Happy Thanksgiving." I said, "Let me know how your dad's doing, blah, blah, blah." So I'm in the bathtub and I keep hearing my name, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, can't I just, have like 10 minutes? So I'm going, yes, nobody's answering me. So I just shut the door and ignore it. Well, out of nowhere, I'm hearing, Julie, it's Jim. And I'm like, what? My father's name was Jim, but it wasn't like his voice, and it wasn't my voice. It was just different. All of a sudden, I knew who it was. I had this 10-minute, it seemed like about 10-minute conversation with this man, telling him to go ahead and pass. That I would look after his daughter, that I would continue to be her friend. His wife was waiting for him. I've got chills right now. His wife was waiting for him on the other side. It's gone. And, after I said that, we were done. So I'm laying there for a minute trying to absorb what just happened, thinking I'm losing my mind. I thought, this is it. They're going to put me in the loony bin. I actually heard my name being called. Not in my head, but with my ears. So it was objective. I objective hearing. But the rest of it, and I don't remember any visuals with it. I just remember closing my eyes and listening and talking back and forth in my head with him. So I get out of the bathtub. I'm drying off with the towel. It wasn't within 5 minutes after I guess you could say, disconnected with Jim. My friend calls and said, "My dad just died." So that was my confirmation something was going on with me. That's how it started. It was slowly building. It was taking time building is what it was doing. And I was just starting to explore after-death communication. and near-death experiences. I was just really getting into starting to explore this when it happened. No, there were other things. So the one thing I remember here after going to Lilydale is that my husband and I were sitting in the living room, and we hear this big bang, and stuff falls at your house. And so he gets up and he's walking through the house. He didn't find anything. Well, I go into this one restroom where the door was shut. I can't remember whose it was, but there was a male deodorant in there. The mirror was open on the cabinet. There's 3 mirrors. One of the mirrors was open. The deodorant was on the floor across the bathroom, and papers that had been sitting on the bathroom counter were all over the place. And I said, I found the noise. So little thing, I shouldn't say little, because they freaked me out when they first were happening, because I did not understand it all. So that was one of the few things that happened before this big thing where I was hearing spirit, actually hearing them. It was scary. It was scary in the fact I was in uncharted waters, and I didn't know where to turn. So I researched. I jumped into everything, and I started getting, you and I think, talked about this on the phone. I started getting these urges to learn about things I had no interest in before, like metaphysics, quantum physics. And I volunteered most of my life, whether it's in schools, just different places. Well, raising kids, I didn't get to volunteer as much. So they were gone. I said I'd like to get back into volunteering. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Just mentioned it. I started seeing all this stuff about hospice. I don't care where I looked, where I was, TV, billboards. I got something in the mail. It was just crazy. So I thought, okay, I must be having to look into hospice. So I looked into hospice. I thought I'll go to a class, see whether or not I like it, if I can handle it. Because before all this happened, I didn't like going to funeral homes. I didn't like going to hospitals. Now, I was a caretaker. If it was my own family member, huge caretaker. But I couldn't go to those other places. I was just so overwhelmed with emotions anytime I went there. So I thought, I don't know if I can do this hospice thing, but there's some sign here. So I became a hospice volunteer. So those are the type of things I'm talking about, that they're reaching out to you to try to get you ready for some of these things happening. It is very confusing when it's happening. So I just started teaching myself, basically, and reading and researching, and eventually found a couple of people online, reputable, that I felt comfortable taking a course online or going to a workshop. I even drugged my husband one year to Monica the Medium show in Washington. He went with me, and he didn't know the extent of everything going on, but he knew things were going on. So that's how I started handling it. I guess that's the way you could put it, handling it. The other thing I did, I journaled everything. I like to write anyway, and I've journaled on and off during my life, but when these experiences started happening, I was writing everything down. And I think part of that was like validation for me. I really wasn't losing my mind. These things were happening. And then the more I started checking into in the workshops, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm communicating with people that have passed on, and with people I didn't like, practicing with people I had no clue who they were. So there wasn't any prior knowledge at all. But it was 6 years of doing that and trying to understand, and there's conflicting information out there when this stuff starts happening to you. So you have to learn, or I had to learn, to take what felt right to me and just leave the rest behind. But it was, and it still is, quite honestly, difficult to navigate, because new things are put in your path to learn. It's this urge. It's like, and until you address it, it doesn't go away. So I understand perfectly, and it's confusing though, because It's not logical. And I think if you start to understand that this is not always of your logical mind, that and just accept something's going to be put in your pathway for your benefit or development, then just go with it. It's easier than fighting it, is the best that I can say. Because I did fight it at the beginning, at the very beginning, because of background, and raising. So then I just started going with it. So I start working with patients, and I wasn't questioning it. My whole focus was on them. So after a year and a half, about a year, it was about a year, my brother gets diagnosed with cancer, very rare form. And this is after being sick and not feeling well for about a year and a half, and nobody could figure out what was wrong. I know that's why I went into hospice, because of the care that I ended up being able to provide to him, because his specialist, he lives about 10 hours away, he and his family. The specialist was here in Columbus for that rare type of cancer. So he lived in this house with us on and off for 2 years while he was fighting that. And because of hospice, I knew what to expect. I knew what to do. I knew how to provide care to him. It also helped me because I was the only one not in denial with his passing. And he was fighting. He had 4 children, fighting as much as he could. And I ended up, and I don't know what other family members would say, but I think I ended up being the logic while everybody else was falling apart. And I know that's because of hospice, being a hospice volunteer. And we have nurses in the family, but they weren't holding it together. It was a very difficult time for the whole family. So I now know that's why I was called to do hospice volunteering. And some of the experiences I went through when I'm with clients, and I have chills, it helps me with their grief or explaining some things to them that maybe they didn't understand at the time their loved one was dying. And I, so I can share those experiences without client names, obviously, but I can share those experiences and the knowledge that I have to help them a little bit. I don't even know how to tell you the things that happened. So, and it would come in spurts, like what we were talking about before. It would come in spurts, like it would be ramped up, and then it would calm down a little bit, and then it would ramp up again. But I feel that I was not so, it was almost like out-of-body experience for 2 years is the best way I can explain it, trying to figure out and understand it and these things happening to you. I'm trying to think some of the things that happened during those first 2 years to show you the progression. I had an appointment with the doctor, and I was working full-time, and I came home at lunch because I worked very closely, and this man came in, and I knew who it was. It was this doctor's father. And I sat on my back porch for an hour writing 4 pages of what he was telling me. So I go to the doctor's appointment, and I've known this physician for a very long time, a lot of personal relationship now. And this is a mistake I made when I was just getting into this that I didn't understand, but just she was talking to me and went on. We got things resolved with me, and I said, do you believe in mediums or after? She's like, yeah, we had somebody investigate this office. I'm like, cool. I said, would you be open to listening to some information I received from your father? And that was one of the first face-to-face medium readings I gave. She was dealing at the time with a very difficult situation with her mother. very difficult. And he brought through some information that he was supporting her, knew what was going on, and the information that came through was right on it as far as what was going on with the mother. So an evidential mediumship, or medium, what we are trying to do is to bring through specific information that lets the client know, or the sitter, that this is your loved one. Life goes on. How do I know these things if, there's a question about, are you reading their mind? Because all mediums are highly psychic. Okay, so we pick up a lot of things. I want those things. My favorite thing is when they give me something that you have no clue about, and you leave here, or we end a discussion, and 2 or 3 days later, I get oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what you said was right. Valid. So we want that type of information, evidence, that specific information. So sometimes in readings, what happens is that I'm just going to make something up here. Let's just say I'm seeing a mountain, and I've got a town with the letter G, and I know they lived here when they were in their 20s. And they're showing me this well, this red well or hand pump out front. So somebody goes and finds a picture of that hand pump with the mountains behind it that they didn't know about. Those are the kind of things that we want to know. It may seem like random information, but that's okay. And other times it's messages. But to me, honestly, the message that they're just coming through, providing information and saying things to you is evidence to me, and the message. Hey, I'm still around you. I know what's going on. And I still love you, and I care about you. And have you felt me in your kitchen? I've been in your bedroom, those type of things. To me, that's the evidence. So after I started opening up and this stuff started happening to me, my daughter, both daughters, and my granddaughter started having experiences, spirit experiences. So all that, the other thing, music was a big thing with this person that passed. I don't care where I went. After I found out, I love to listen to music. So music to me is either very uplifting or it helps you get through emotional times. So I was listening to a lot of emotional songs. So there were about 4 or 5 I had on this playlist. So when I was feeling down and just needed to chill and think about this person and try to get through the grief, I was listening to them. I'm not kidding you. Those songs, I don't care where I walked in, like a casino, a grocery store, I get in my car, the radio would come on for no reason with that song. One of those 5 songs. It was just, so those were the type of things that were happening as I was learning to develop. And then after my brother passed, things went crazy. It was 2 years of my brother suffering with cancer. So it was a long time. And like I said, I was going back and forth. My sister was going back and forth to Missouri. We were transporting him. It was a horrible time for our family, for everyone. So he's in hospice. And we had planned, my husband and I and our son and some other people had planned to go side-by-side running at Hatfield and McCoy in West Virginia. And it was all under my name. This was in September, middle September. And I didn't want to go because I knew he was in hospice and I was afraid. And then it was like, we had said goodbye so many times, my brother and I, and we'd had a lot of discussions about passing and everything. So finally I was like, I need to get away. While we were in West Virginia, beautiful mountains there, just the scenery is something else. And you go to the top of them on these side-by-sides and ATVs. So we were at the top of one of these mountains, and it was just peaceful, it was calm, it was beautiful. And I'm probably going to get emotional. And I started praying for my loved ones. I said, any of you up there, please meet Timmy. Please, help him out. because I knew he was passing. I knew he was transitioning, and I said, somebody meet him or guide him or do something for him, and quit prolonging it, basically, and calm him, because he was very anxious while he was transitioning. So now we get back. I go up to hospice, and my sister-in-law tells me that Timmy was reaching up while I was gone, reaching up and saying this name, and kept saying this name. He's here, he's here. Well, it was the person, my first love, who I had asked my relatives and anybody up there to help. My brother had a full-blown conversation with that person while I was gone, and kept asking for me. And when I got back, he was saying the name to me. So that blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. That was one thing. So after Timmy passed, this house went crazy. And you got to remember, he was here, on and off. And when I say go crazy, like, we had, and I don't know if it was when everybody came from Missouri, like the rest of his family, if it was during the funeral or if it was Thanksgiving, but let's say we have 20 people here, okay, 25 people. We got kids running around. We're sitting at the kitchen table playing card games, which is our family thing to do at every get-together. And this door right around the corner from me, boom, 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 you start hearing this pounding. Well, we're thinking the kids are, messing around. And we're like, stop it. Boom, boom, boom. So I open the door and I yell down the stairs, guys, stop it. Because I thought maybe somebody locked the door or something. Shut the door again. Pretty soon, here come all the kids from the back of the house. Nobody was downstairs. So my whole family got to experience the pounding. I have one cat's meow in the kitchen. It's a lighthouse, Marblehead Lighthouse, which is my mother's favorite. After my brother passed away, that thing will fly off of there. I don't care where I put it, because I thought, okay, I'm very logical on signs. I try to rule everything out first because I want to know it's a sign. I've moved it all around the kitchen, different spots. Doesn't matter where it's at. It's the only thing that goes flying off across the room in the middle of the night. And Marblehead Lighthouse is one of my mother's favorite places in the world to go. My husband and I were sitting, this is after my brother passed. This is when my mediumship really kicked in. I think it was building up a little bit until then, because I was taking care of my brother. My mother also got breast cancer during the time my brother was sick. So there was a lot going on. So I think it was going slow there, just so I could help people out, but things picked up. My husband and I are sitting in our living room, and we have one of those tables that lift up. So again, we were getting ready to go side-by-siding. So we're tired. We've got everything packed. We're eating sandwiches. We're sitting there. There's this lamp in our living room, and it's got a heavy base. I'm not kidding you. So this is the base, okay? And here's the lamp. It does this, and the lampshade starts flying back and forth. And, my husband, I won't repeat, jumped up. Holy. So he started seeing the things. He used to call things woo-woo or your ghost is here. He doesn't do that anymore. He takes it a little bit more seriously. The other time where, he's probably not going to like that I tell this story, but I'll tell it anyway. He was being a little bit of a smart aleck to me one night. And again, we're at that table, that same table. And he's got a glass of water there. That glass of water picks up because he was being smart aleck towards me. Boom. Covers him in water. It was my brother. No doubt in my mind it was my brother. There was so much activity here. My grandson, I don't know, he was maybe 8 or 9, I'm not sure. And he is here a lot. So he was laying on the couch, and I'm sitting at the other end, and he leans up and he looks up and he goes, "Who are those shadow people in the hallway at night?" Yeah, the look on your face right now. And I'm like, okay, don't react. That's what I'm thinking, because this is an 8 or 9, and I didn't talk about this stuff around the little kids. I just didn't. And I said, well, sometimes when people leave this earth, they go another place, and sometimes they like to come back and visit us. They're not going to hurt you. It's okay. For 3 years, just recently, he started sleeping back in the back bedroom again, but he wouldn't go back there. And I did talk to him. I said, are they scary looking? Or he goes, no, but I can see the outlines of the top of them, but there's nothing at the bottom. Now, this is an 8 or 9-year-old kid who hasn't been exposed to any of this stuff. So after that, I was like, I think I'm going to have somebody come out and investigate this house after all this stuff was happening. And my abilities are ramping up at the same time. I'm feeling spirit everywhere. I'm hearing things. I'm starting to practice online and on some Facebook groups. I'm starting to learn some things to see, what I can do with this. That's after I accepted it. So we did have people come out. My daughter came from Pittsburgh. She was here with us, and there was activity. They did pick up some things, and I chose an organization that's made up of physicians, nurses, doctors, firefighters. I think there was one truck driver, that's had a lot of experience. There was a nurse. These are very professional people who are trying to debunk things. There was one medium that showed up after they started, but they did find things here. So it made me feel a little bit better. I never was scared. I believe we each have to come to our own understanding. I don't think, snap judgment. I think you need to explore a lot of different things and then come to your own understanding. For me, they're just coming to visit. I don't believe people get stuck. I do believe energy has a lot to do with all of this. But I don't believe they get stuck. I because I thought about this question a lot. And being raised where there's heaven and there's hell, I no longer believe in hell. I do believe that some people, when they pass, I call it the zone. And it's kind of darkened, but it's almost like a place to think about what we did or what we could have done better. And sometimes I think those people come back from the zone to hey, I know I did something I could have done better. But I don't think people get stuck. I really don't. I think it's instantaneous. Now, I do know there are people that have had negative experiences, and I don't discount those. But I've never had one negative experience as far as anything scary. Things that have made me sick, yes, one time, Mansfield prison. I can't go, I will never go back there again. But as far as scary or getting stuck, no, I don't. I think they're around us all the time, to be quite honest with you. Family, or a very close friend, that they're here, we just can't see them. And as far as haunted houses I think they go back to the places that they loved or where they lived, or something traumatic happened to them. A lot of times, I think spirits go back to where the trauma was, trying to deal with it or something. I don't know. That's what I feel. That's what I believe. But I don't think we're going to know till we get to the other side. Energy doesn't go away. It just changes form. So let's just say I was doing a reading. I don't ask spirit to give me a laundry list of things. I feel more comfortable, and it's starting to shift this way with training mediums. Tell me your story. Share with me about what you want to say about yourself. What messages do you want me to give? So during that, they will either share their death experience or they won't, their transitioning experience. But the ones that do, because their loved ones need to know they're okay or what was it like, they will tell me, I was there and I was gone. It's fast. So that's what I go with from what I'm getting from spirit. It's very quick. It's not like they're there in limbo. It's just boom, here I am. And then I have had a couple spirits come through to say it was a little confusing, but the most of them that have told me about the dying experience in the readings has been more, I was there and I was gone. Like, just there you go. So I will tell you this, I don't mind going to hospitals, I don't mind going to funeral homes, I'm not afraid of death, afraid of suffering, but I'm not afraid of death. I really am not. The other thing I want to say, and I didn't go into some of my history, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but when I was a teenager, and I shared one experience with you, and then this other experience with breaking up with someone, and the adoption happened within a very short period of time, and I couldn't take it, and I didn't want to be here, and I tried to commit suicide. I think it was more a call for help. But when that happened, I was laying on my bed as a teenager, and I was ready to go. And out of nowhere, I got a voice. I didn't see anything, but I got a voice. And I can tell you this day what it said. Get up, go tell your parents, it's not your time yet. And I've got chills. I literally couldn't walk. I crawled. Like, I crawled out of bed and I crawled. I put it behind me. Like, a lot of that time from those teenage years, those experiences I was telling you, I blacked out a lot of it out of my brain, except for that. And since that time, and again, this is looking back, I can't be around some things electronic, and I can't wear a watch. Before that, I could. Like, I wore a watch all the time. After that experience, no watches. They all stop on me. I can give the watch to somebody else, and I'll work on them. So, again, that's getting back to the energy, things around us. So I think something may have started then that I wasn't aware of, just because of what I so clearly heard. And it wasn't a hallucination. I know. It was a voice that told me to get up and go tell your parents. It wasn't, I got to go tell my parents. It was, you need to do this. Go tell your parents. It's not your time yet. So I think something started back then as well. There are a lot of scientific studies going on out there. If you look into them, University of Virginia does a lot. There's a couple people out in Oregon. UK, I think, has done some studies about all of this. I mean, after death, near-death experiences, what happens as we're dying. And there are a lot of different opinions. But I will tell you that this can be very isolating. Because when it was happening, like I was sharing, at the beginning with quite a few people, and the looks I would get, or the comments, some of them not nice, I learned that everybody comes to understanding in their own time. It's not up to me to persuade them to believe in what is happening to me or what my beliefs are. If they want to talk about it, great. But I have learned I only talk about it with people that want to talk about it. And what their beliefs are their beliefs, and what my beliefs are my beliefs. We can be respectful of each other. That's the way I look at it. But at the beginning, when it's happening to you, you do want to put your opinions forth because it's so strong at the beginning. Things do calm down. Most of the time. They do calm down. And it kind of changes as you develop and start to work with it. Family members, a lot of my own family members. And again, some of it is background, and some of them are very concerned for me. But none of my family treats me badly because of this. Some of them are very supportive and have their own experiences. But I don't try to talk them into it, But I will say there's two grandkids now, and like I said, the two daughters, all pick up on spirit now. And it's like, what happened? To me, I'd like to figure that out. Why one person in the family and then it opened up the other people? That's interesting to me. I think it was in the 80s, 90s, the CIA had developed a program where they were taking soldiers and military personnel, trying to work psychically and telepathically to see places by taking, I think, the longitude and latitude. They would give them like those two coordinates and ask them to tune in. And it is a process. It's not like just sitting down, but there's a process to it. And they were able to draw shapes of places. They were able to see like vehicle shapes, or they were able to tell if it was nature or a military base, or I think it went on for maybe 12, 15 years. I can't remember. But there are now classes that you can take it. So it's basically, they were using it more because they heard, I believe, Russia was doing it. So they wanted to develop their own program. So it's basically locking in psychically on these things, and you can do it. Anybody can do it. It's just learning the process and spending the time. And I've done a little bit with it as far as just introducing myself to it. But I think it's going to tie in more and more as we move forward, because some of the skills you can learn not being a medium, not being a psychic, to do remote viewing, anybody can do it. It's just tuning in and doing it. I think, though, that it's going to come together with mediumship because it would be so helpful for people to have readings and things. So in order for me to do a reading, to prepare for a reading, I like to get in the zone. Everybody is a little bit different. Some people just switch. I don't just switch anymore. Like, it's not just random spirits because I put up boundaries. So I meditate for about 10 minutes before I'm going to see a client or talk to a client on the phone. And it's just getting myself calm, raising that vibration a little bit, and opening myself up. The biggest thing is getting the ego out of the way. To do this work, it is not about you. It's not about what you can do. It's not about, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to do this. What if I don't hook up to spirit? You got to get all that out of the way, which is why I take that 10 minutes to just focus. Sometimes I say a little prayer. Other times it's just complete relaxation. And then as soon as most of the time for me, though, clients will show up spirits will show up about 5 to 10 minutes before the client does. So I start getting this information, seeing them, or just feeling them, and that's where I start writing stuff down. I don't like to do that too much. I prefer to wait till the client gets here, and then it's like boom. And when I am really tuned in the zone, I am covered in chills. Or if I am hitting something head on that spirit wants me to say or to relate, boom, covered in chills. Sometimes the client gets covered in chills. And that's what I love, is when they're feeling that energy. That's my favorite thing. So yes, I always get in the zone, but if I had to, I think I could just, boom, there it is. On practice, when I'm online on practice circles, because we're in what's called practice or development circles. So you're working with other mediums or psychics, learning new skills or practicing with them. And usually it's boom, because they'll just call on you right away and you just got to go. So I don't like to do that as much as I like to meditate first and get in that space. It's the best thing, meditation. Just give yourself time. It doesn't have to be find what works for you. But it's going inside yourself. That's basically what it is. And when you start going inside yourself and dealing with things that you haven't dealt with, sometimes this process, spiritual awakening, can be painful, because everything you've dumped inside or you haven't dealt with will start coming out. And sometimes it's through the meditation that does that. My mother was nice enough. She knew when this stuff was going on. For my birthday, she actually bought me a book on meditation with all these different methods. And I literally was sitting there and trying them and laughing. Like, I'd start cracking up. I'm like, I can't do this. I basically went into deep breathing. That's it. Just couple breaths, deep breaths through the, I like feel, because we breathe shallow because it's just natural. But if you do deep breathing and start talking to yourself to calm down, and the other thing is, somebody taught me that was the best thing is to tighten your muscles as you're doing, different parts of your body. It just completely calms you. And then you can start getting into these other states. But it took me 3 months before I started seeing things and knowing things and feeling connected back to myself. For me, when I started doing meditation and these other things started happening to me at the beginning of the spiritual awakening, I had this huge shift in perspective. And it was, we're all connected. And for some people it happens quicker than others, but I literally started loving trees, looking at a tree. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you question yourself because, yeah, I've been a nature lover all my life, but not where I'm like, oh, that tree's so beautiful. I was actually feeling something for the tree. And I still do when I go by. So that kind of stuff happens. I'm very feel connected to other people, but I've always been a people person, if that makes sense. I'm one of those people in the grocery store that's walking down the aisle and somebody comes up and just starts telling me their life story, and I can be there an hour. So that's happened to me my whole life, but now I feel a connection to them more than I did in the past. I don't want any negativity in my life. I don't want drama. I don't like people that aren't, I don't like people that put themselves in the situation where they're not helping themselves and complaining all the time. I'm more straightforward, still tactful, but before I would not say something in fear of hurting somebody's feelings. Not anymore. I'm more of an advocate. You want goodness in the world for everybody when this happens to you. And it also can be very emotional. For a very long time, I quit watching news. I couldn't watch news because of how it was literally making me cry and making me sad. And I feel it. It's not just up here. I feel it. So it's understandable. I mean, the changes you go through, and there's a list of things that you can find for spiritual awakening, but everybody goes through it a little bit differently. And it can last years. That's the other thing. For me, I feel it was about 2 years of pain and happiness and enlightenment, and I'm still developing. I'm still on it, and not a spiritual awakening, but my spiritual journey. I'm still on it. I don't think we ever start learning. Once you're open to this, your heart opens up, and you have these changes, it never stops. You just keep going with it. A lot of activity, especially when I went public, has calmed down for me. It's like, oh, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing now. We're here. I think they do that to get our attention. Whatever it is, they're doing it. Hey, we gotta let them know what they're supposed to be doing. And they do it constantly at the beginning. And then after that, it just kind of calms down. I guess the other thing that maybe I would say to somebody going through this is to just ride with it. I mean, not to be scared of it. If you don't want to pursue it, then you won't pursue it, but at least just kind of go with it. I didn't used to believe that we had been here before, but I think that we have. If you don't get it right the first time, I do think you're coming back to try to get right or to learn more the second time. And a lot of that has to do with the kids that come back, that say they've been here before. And so, yes, but I'm not sure what the purpose is. Like, I still can't comprehend why do we keep wanting to come back and come back and come back unless it's to learn. So I'm kind of just over the line on that. I do know some of the people that I'm in a circle with are very much, you choose your mother, your father, you choose the situations. And I guess also I'm leaning a little bit towards that too because of deja vu. You know? Yeah. It's like, I've had it my whole life. It's like, okay, has this happened before? Or am I supposed to be learning? This is a lesson. Something's happened before. What am I supposed to be aware of? So, yeah, I'm just kind of on the other side of it. That we've planned what we're going to do here and who we're going to be with. I opened my mind up to everything that, I possibly could. And learned that what our thoughts are energy. So I try to keep this positive attitude, and when I want something to happen, or whether for myself or somebody else, I just believe that it already is. It's kind of spooky the way sometimes that happens. Like it works. But this is happening to more and more people, the spiritual awakenings, because I can't tell you the number of clients that I get in here after we're done with the reading, and either I feel they're having experiences or they will share, and it's like, wow, and they don't understand what's going on. So people need to be able to talk to other people about it, just because personally we need more people feeling these things and understanding these things. I think we've gotten to a point in this world where we've lost touch with who we are and with each other. Just being human beings and having conversations and doing for other people. And there's so much negativity that I just think it's time for this to come forward to maybe, I don't want to say heal the world. I don't want to be corny, but to start getting back to being some goodness, and more goodness than negative in the world. That's what I think.